Good morning to my friends and neighbors. Welcome to this morning's first edition of Ken's Kitchen. Um, I guess we're all pretty flipped out, stressed out, and on a day-to-day basis trying to figure out not only what does tomorrow bring, but what are we going to do with ourselves. So I thought I would take this opportunity to share some thoughts as well as share some information that I've learned over the years. And hopefully, this will kind of inspire a few of you to think about what your life has brought you along the way that can not only help you through this pretty trying time, but can also help your friends, neighbors, and the people that you love. So I'll start with a couple of thoughts and then I'll move to a couple of really quick ideas. And over the days to follow, we'll figure out how to expand upon this. Ownership. Probably one of the things that we are all struggling with the most. Me, I've worked for myself for almost half of my life. The ability to know what it is I need to do, where I'm supposed to be, what I'm supposed to be doing, what's on my agenda, is not only how I eat and support myself, but it's become actually a way of life. And having to think, and rethink, reassess every step I make as to its level of importance or whether or not it's open, whether or not an opportunity that I had just a mere few weeks ago has basically vanished. They say, in the government at least, never let a good tragedy go to waste. And that's always really pissed me off every time I've heard it because I've seen it in action. I've watched everything be taken from us a little at a time, year after year. But then when we have a big situation, Y2K, 9/11, the LA riots, the housing market crash, suddenly they magically sweep in and save us from ourselves, or usually save us from them, those who have created these situations for us due to their negligence or lack of concern, whichever you'd like to call it. And then they come in with all these great ideas of how they're going to make life safe and bubble wrap us and seatbelt us in and prevent us from harming ourselves. I don't really need that shit, but we live with it every day anyway. How about between ourselves, we figure out how to not let this tragedy go to waste in a way that actually improves our lives. There are things that we can change. There are things that we can add, a reevaluation of sorts. Are you working the job that you really want to? Are you living your dream? I don't think most would say yes. Are you close enough with your kids? Has this really brought to the focus the love and attention and care that your parents need? Are you looking out for your neighbors? Have you reached out and talked to somebody that you think about all the time, but you just never really have the time to do it? Those are some of the more simple things. But are there things that can be done on your car? Are there improvements that can be made on your house? I know it feels like you don't want to do anything because you just don't know. Everything is this big, giant question mark. And it probably is driving you as batty as it is me. But today, I'm going to keep it simple. We're going to go with food security. Having worked in the restaurant business for many, many sections of my life, and food through the whole process, as you can tell, I'm a big boy, has been a real big part of my life. Excess and food security. Well, to tell you, when I had a family here on a daily basis, I shopped a bunch. I shopped like I was working at a McDonald's because everybody had to have something different. Everybody had to have it their own way. Everybody had to have a this and a that and this brand and that brand. But when all that goes away, you need to think differently. Not only do you need to think differently, but you need to have a way to convey to those that you are responsible for that shit has changed and they need to get on board. Another aspect of it is finding myself as an empty nester, made it through that shit, and also single. That very much changed the way I shopped. I no longer was doing huge shops, making meals every day. And again, working in the food industry, I have access to food in ways that most of you don't. Also, I would add to that, in addition to the access, when you're cooking for other folks every day, you just don't like to cook. And that would probably amaze a few people. But I actually enjoy eating out quite a bit. It gives me the variety. It gives me some inspirations on some of the things that I do. But it also gives me a break because I get to just be a client. Come in, sit down, tell you what I want, eat, and get up and walk away. And there are no dishes, no cleanup, no menus, no shopping, etc. But right now, that's not the case. We find ourselves basically trapped within our own luxury prison cells. And as I've gone through my supplies, both the ones that I already had, and for the record, when everyone else had to run out to the store, I could wait because I've kind of always been a food weirdo and have lots of stuff. But it's the kind of stuff that really comes into play. You have various things that you have immediate access to, your fresh foods, you have your fresh dairy and cheese, and you have your pre-made foods, your canned foods, and your bulk foods like rice, beans, etc. So I could have actually probably gone a couple of weeks having never gone to the store. Also, for those of you who actually know me, I've got this toilet paper thing. I don't like shitty toilet paper. So I had pretty good amount of toilet paper before this began. I must admit, I added a few rolls just in case, because every time I go to the store, it's pretty damn scarce. And I find it more frightening to have to wipe my butt with one ply or really rough toilet paper than I do to skip a meal. If you see the size of me, I can skip a meal or two. But I do that other thing at least once a day. TMI, I know. But I put a smile on your face. Anyway, so this is a really good time for you to assess what you have or had. And as you're buying, I think as I begin to do this, I'm going to do a few things like maybe some meal preps, maybe a few nutritional tips, try and distinguish the difference between eating healthy, or eating and enjoying, and eating and actually being able to get nutrition. You can eat at McDonald's every day of the week and you will feel full, but you will have a pretty lackluster performance because it really doesn't give you anything to fly on. Sure, we don't want to feel hungry, but as we go through the stress and the sedentary that some of us are not accustomed to, we want to make sure that we're getting something from the food that we're putting in our bodies. Also, it'll make us eat a little bit less because we won't have that constant yearn. We'll feel satisfied. My specialty is home cooked, home style, Tex-Mex. All things that leave you fat, dumb, and happy. I'm pretty fat, not that dumb, always happy. And I think I really want to start today, quite simply, with inventorying your food. Now, I know you're probably like, okay, I'm done with this shit. Don't need to inventory my food. I'm not that bored. Well, I'm not really talking about being OCD. What I'm talking about is learning how to squeeze your dollars. In the food business, 29% food cost is about gold. If we could make it to 33%, we're pretty damn happy. Everything above that, something's got to be cut somewhere else in order to keep your numbers right. One of the ways that I do that, and my partner does, is utilizing food at every stage. So let's say you get a thing of peaches. They're really great. Eating your peaches, and then as you go along, they start to get a little softer. Well, now we're looking at smoothies. Then we move them along a little bit farther. You might have a bad spot or two. You cut out those bad spots, and you're thinking preserves. That's one manner. Perhaps drying some stuff. These are things that you probably wouldn't think of on a normal day because you don't have the time. Guess what? You've been given the time. When you go through your refrigerator, look at your milk. How often do you throw away half a container of milk? I didn't used to, but again, only being me here, most days or weeks previous to what's going on, I would throw out about a third of a gallon of milk, almost consistently for each one I bought. Now, if you're checking those dates, maybe tomorrow you'll have cereal for breakfast and lunch. 2 meals covered, instead of letting that milk go bad. Look at your lunch meat. Maybe you need to have or make for your family sandwiches. Maybe tomorrow everybody gets a sandwich. I know this one doesn't like a sandwich. They prefer to have something else. Guess what? Too bad. You're eating a sandwich today. That way, you don't end up throwing out that lunch meat. You know, you go through all of those various different things. You have leftovers. Some of us, me, I love leftovers. And when I do cook, I always make extra so I can have those. There's a lot of people who don't particularly care for leftovers. Get over yourself. If it was good the first time, it's better the second time. Don't leave it in there until it looks like some foreign object. Eat it the next day. If you want a little variety, skip 2 days. Go back. Cut up that steak into tacos. Cut up those potatoes into breakfast potatoes. Figure out something else you can do with that food. Go through and look at your yogurts and see which ones are going to come up first. Swap them in the rotation so that they're the first ones that you reach for when you go in there. Same thing with cheese. Same thing with your vegetables. You got lettuce that starting to get a little brown around the edges. Don't just look at it and keep pushing it to the side, left and right until it becomes liquid. Jump in there. Make that a salad. Potatoes, if you haven't used them as quickly as you want, potato salad. Cut them up, freeze them. Bananas. Get a few spots on them and you don't think you're going to be able to eat them all in time. Cut up those bananas and freeze them. They make great smoothies, great ice cream toppers. Great banana bread. If we start looking at what we're actually doing in this time, it gives us a sense of being in control at a time when we're completely out of control. And I don't think any of you want to see me out of control. So just sharing these thoughts with you and a few of these bare bone ideas is a way of me taking control over my out of control situation. I hope that something I've said today has maybe sparked a thought, made you smile, given you something that'll save you a couple dollars, seeing as they are gouging the crap out of us at the stores. If you've noticed, everything has gone up by $1 or $2. I hope my words find you well, and I hope to get to do this again. I miss you guys, and hopefully we can use this forum as a way to connect and to see each other through. Have a great day.